Okay, so I'm passionate about teaching this because I think this saved me. Like I have been a team leader forever. I'm one of the long-term team leaders out there. I know some of you know that already about me. Yet, I am not a fan of the telephone. Anybody else? Like I don't like to call strangers. That's just not my gig. But I'm super big into relationships for those of you that know me. And this was always a block for me, and I always felt bad that like I had to cold call to be successful. And then, I've discovered an ISA and I got over that. Now it also is my new demon, which is follow up. Anyone else have that challenge? Following up on leads? Yeah, yeah. My ISA is not only helping me create more opportunity for myself in lead generation ways that I wasn't taking advantage of. I'm also now following up better. And when I have a situation, like I need to get everyone a phone call for an event or something I'm promoting, just like you may have a client appreciation event or something, I can pull my ISA off what we were typically going to do every now and then to do like a project for me. And I've been using an ISA from back when I was in Madison. And so pretty much for the last 15 years, I've had a coach and I've had an ISA. Two things I highly recommend. So from an ISA standpoint, no, there's a lot of things you can. I hope you guys just bombard me with questions. So what I planned on doing was kind of going through the basics with you, and then I want to just dive into any questions or limiting beliefs or challenges you may already have. Now, in addition to this, I'm going to launch a leverage mastermind once a month. That's going to be an hour long that I will share ISA best practices, maybe talk about some of the new challenges you're finding because you're needing to work differently or whatever. And I want to lead that so that you guys can always have a place to come together with other people that are doing the same thing to kind of trade notes. Now in the Clearwater office, I probably have about 10 different people now using ISAs that hadn't in the past, or I helped people use an ISA better so they were getting the results that they were desiring. And it's something I'm really passionate about, and I'd love to help all of you. So just know from the bottom of my heart, if this is something that is meant to do for you, I will help you. You're not going to be perfect at this right away, because it's kind of like when you get an assistant, you've got to be more organized yourself, right? It's like you can't live off Post-it notes and run from one thing to the other when you've got someone looking for your leadership. So I get it. I've done this. I've proven this out over and over, and I can help you too. So just know, if you want to reach out to me offline. The best way to always get me is this phone number right here, because I hate email. I just get too many of them. I can't keep up. Best is to just call or text me. If you don't get me, leave me a voicemail and I'll get back to you. Okay. Any questions so far? We're good. Okay. I'm going to do my best to monitor chat, but I actually just like having conversations. So bust in, and if you talk over someone else, don't worry, we'll figure it out. This is a question and learning kind of situation. Okay, I'm going to give you some ISA best practices, and I'm going to weave in the biggest mistakes that you're likely to make just to solve them right away so you don't bother making them. Number one is you've got to choose a specific job that you want them to do, because their skill set needs to match their job. Today, I'm going to talk mostly about hiring an ISA that's going to be lead generating, lead follow-up, nurture. Now, you can hire a VA from the same company that also makes pretty flyers and social media posts and all that, but those are two very different people. So it's really hard to hire an ISA that's a marketing genius that also will answer a telephone and talk to people. Truth. Gonna tell you that. So that's a big mistake people make. Now, if you really need both, go find someone else that needs both and split two different people with two different talents. But don't try to make one another. And if you actually get someone that's good on the phone, why would you have them make flyers? Just a question, right? Truth. Because they're doing something you don't want to do, right? So the most dollar productive activity I can have Zeke, who is my current ISA, do is to be on the phone. So just keep that in mind. Now, what's neat about it is when you work through one of these companies that I recommend, and you can work through any company. I'm just recommending 2 companies I've worked with and have had amazing experiences with, because I've also had very bad experiences with $3 an hour type people through Craigslist and stuff that I don't know if I got hacked maybe, and it just wasn't good. So I'm only going to recommend what I've had a great experience with. And yet you can find great talent from those companies. And yet just make sure the job description matches the person. And if you get a really good ISA, they're happy 8 hours a day on the telephone. Now, who doesn't want that job? Right? Okay, don't put your judgment on them saying, oh my God, I got to give them some other things to do. Because I made that mistake. I thought, oh boy, there's no way this kid's going to be on the phone for 8 hours. Let me give him some projects on the side. And basically what I distracted him from was his gift zone. So be weary of that. Don't make that mistake. I've made it before. And it's because I like, there's no way I'm going to sit on the phone for 8 hours. Yes, he does. He makes about 60 dials and he sets me about 20 appointments a week. Pretty good. Pretty good. Now I have really, really warm leads. If you're cold calling, 20 a month would be the average. Just so you guys can, I'm answering probably questions you guys were going to ask me about, how many leads can I expect and all that. You get about 20
at there, James.
Oh,
hey, June, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I gotta find June.
Hey, can you do me a favor whenever you...
Okay, sorry, June. Love you. Okay, so best practices: make sure you're hiring an ISA that matches what you're wanting to do, and they will put candidates in front of you that are new to the idea or proven talent. I would hold out for proven talent. What I mean by this is if I'm going to hire an ISA for the purpose of calling, I want someone that's been on the phones 8 hours a day for more than a couple months at a job. And I hired my guy, Zeke. He was customer service for Allegiant Airline for 4 years. And I figure if that kid can handle that, because they're one of the worst airlines I've ever experienced, he deserves like props. So that's why I chose him. And you're not going to find someone necessarily in real estate, but they have the staying power or the battery life to be on a phone for 8 hours. So just that's a really important thing. So make sure the job description matches their skill set. And if the skill set you're looking for is social media, is marketing, ask them for examples of what they've posted and what kind of impact they've had on followers and leads through their marketing and social media. So just because that's kind of an intangible, isn't it? You're like, well, was it good? Was it successful? Just make sure that you're asking those questions. So any questions so far on job description? Okay, I want to show you guys a little place where Gary Keller's made this really easy for you on K2B Connect. So I'm going to quick screen share K2B Connect. When you go here, go under resources and leverage, and everything you need to do to make this hire is here. Now you're already going to get candidates that have been vetted to a certain degree. So you're not necessarily going to give them a KPA, but the job descriptions for your team are right here. So if you're not real sure what you want, a great exercise to do would be to print out a bunch of these and highlight what you really need done. And just don't lose sight of if they're great at calling, keep them calling. If they're great at admin, keep them admin. So whoever is loud and coughing and phone ringing, can you mute yourself? I can't see everybody because there's too many of you. I feel like I need like a sidekick when I'm doing this some days. Today would be one. Okay, so back to me. Questions so far? You guys have the ability to go get job descriptions. You need to formulate your job description. And before you even call any of these companies, you need to get clarity yourself of what you're looking for so that you can make the right hire. They're gonna expect you to know that much by the time you have your conversations, because they'll do.
I had this webinar.
Okay, I gotta mute all. Sorry, I hate to do that, but there you go. Sorry. If you want to unmute yourself, please do so. Back to what I was saying. You're going to get candidates that are vetted, so you're not going to be doing the KPA, all that. But you will want those job descriptions. And if you reach out to these companies that I recommend or any other company, they're going to do a needs analysis with you. And they're going to ask you a lot of questions. If you've put some thought into this process can move real quickly. If you haven't, they're going to send you back to think about what you want, get clarity on that, be able to put that in a job description so that they can connect you with the right talent. So I'm helping you skip a step in a way if you get this far. Okay, next would be choosing your ISA. So I'm just speaking from the heart, and I'm going to make this really big so you guys can see better. Does that help? You guys see better? Okay, I think so. So choosing your ISA, accent, language skills, and their way of bantering with you matters. So you'll have some people that some of the people that you meet with will have really thick accents. That is going to become a problem. I'm just telling you, it is. And some have better slang and language use skills. That matters. Personality over the phone matters, especially if you're having them call. So hold out for an ISA that meets your needs. Don't get excited and hire the first one you meet, because I did that once. And then I interviewed 5 the next time, and I ended up hiring the 4th person. And then the last time I went through 2 rounds of groups before I found Zeke. So don't get too excited and go and hire someone that you're excited about. Make sure you feel comfortable with their accent, language skills, and just their basic demeanor. Personality. I hear Zeke's energy over the phone. You want to hear that. You can hear my energy as I speak to you. You want that if you're having someone call for you. And then, like I said, experience matters. Have them be proven out in what they do, not new to the idea or new to the role, because you want someone that already knows how to do this. And then the companies I've had the greatest success with are My Outdesk and then Keller Williams Cyberbackers, which is through MAPS Coaching. My Outdesk, I was probably with 8 years. They're all very similar cost. You might want to shop around and see who can, give you what, but the difference is significance. With Cyberbackers, they also have cyber producers, cyber recruiters. They're all the same. They're ISA VAs. They're through MAPS, but the big caveat to this is they're coached by a MAPS coach. So when I had a trial, if let's just say you were my ISA and all of a sudden your numbers are slipping and, you're not showing up like you were 3 weeks ago and, you're kind of down and I'm just like, come on, we need you to go, right? At My Outdesk, it was you and me meeting and I'd have to cheer you up and cheerlead for you and give you ideas and hold you accountable. MAPS does that for me with Cyberbackers. So Zeke has had a couple times where he's run into a couple walls where he's had a really bad week. He was killing it. And then boom, nothing happened. I just had to tap my Cyberbacker coach, say, hey, something's going on with Zeke. Last week he sent me 18 appointments. This week he sent me 4. And, this is what he's saying. And they're like, we're on it. So not only will they be there for me kind of as that manager, but they watch it daily because they know that that's the result that we're gunning for. So for me, with my schedule, as you guys know, I'm pretty busy. That is critical. So keep that in mind. If you know you're not really good at managing or leading someone, or you don't have an admin for them to go to daily with questions, you might want to consider that. Any questions on that so far? Anybody? And again, just unmute yourself if you want to talk, because I had to mute you. Now, this is the process. This is a hiring process, like what to expect. You contact the company and you set up an initial appointment, and they're going to just interview you. And then based off your needs analysis, if you are already prepared with a job description, they'll go find candidates right away. Usually it's about a week turn time after you've signed a contract and you've made an initial payment. Now, the initial payment I know is for sure around $750 for Cyberbackers. I'm not sure what it is for My Outdesk because I haven't been with them for a while. I tried a couple companies in between My Outdesk and Cyberbackers, so it's been a long time. So you'd have to go shop and look. But if Paul at My Outdesk is available, he's the best. So you want to email Paul at myoutdesk.com. That was my old rep. He's the bomb. So you do sign a contract. You make a commitment to them. And the commitments are different depending on the company you choose. Yet, if I was to lean one way, I definitely lean towards Cyberbackers. Now, you pay a $750 payment to them, and that's your payment to train them. And they are fully trained on whatever it is that you need them to do and whatever system you're on. So that includes command. Clap, right? They know how to use command better than you do. Right? That's good. But if you use Top Producer or you're on Boomtown or you have Follow Up Boss, they'll make sure they're on that system and know how to use it. They'll send you candidates to consider. Typically, they send you 3 to 5 at a time. You'll get like an email with like a whole packet, like their DISC profile, their background, their bio, like tons of information about these people. And so you're going to go through them and look. And then based off, say they sent you 5, maybe 3 of them you want to meet with. They set up a Zoom and you literally do a back-to-back Zoom on each. And then they debrief with you. And then they say, who do you want to talk to again? And maybe it was person 1 and 3. And then afterwards they say, do you want to hire either of these people? Now I'm going to warn you, ISA is becoming very popular. So they're gone like this. So you don't have like 2 days to think about it. You kind of have to be ready to make a decision. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to know if you follow these kind of guidelines, you're going to know. Like Zeke stole the show. You're going to feel your person. And it's all personality because Kimberly Horn hired Lovely for her ISA and they worked really well. But then when Michelle Moreno and Hudson took that role over, they hired a different ISA because they didn't connect. So just know it's a lot of it's chemistry. And if you follow these kind of best practices, you'll be great on that. Once you've made a decision, you hire the ISA, they're at work working for you in 2 weeks. So they get 2 weeks of training. That's what you paid the $750 for to get them trained for your role. And then they just show up to work based off of the shift that you recommend. Now you can choose your own shift. So that's something that you can also decide in the job description.
Hey,
So
Jess,
yeah, so I want to just jump in for questions so far because I just covered a bunch.
can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I would just add to that. We had not specific, we hadn't really fine-tuned our criteria when we started our search. And they were sending us candidates. And I partnered with Linda Caruso. We share one. And we wanted to hire, but we both felt like we were settling. And we decided we didn't want to settle. And so we upped our criteria. And guess what? All the candidates stopped. They stopped. And we thought, oh no, now what? Why don't we have candidates? And they kept saying, we're searching. And the story has a happy ending because after waiting for a while that I thought they had forgotten about us, this candidate came up and he was just the right fit. I feel really excited about it. I feel good. It checks the boxes. So I just wanted to make that mention because if
Hold out, right? Hold out for the right one.
Don't settle.
Don't settle. We need the Gary coffee mug. Don't settle. And I really mean that because you guys haven't had an ISA. Waiting 2 more weeks is not going to kill you, right? But they really are that passionate about finding the right person. They're like headhunting for you in all of their pool of talent, who's going to be right for your job description. So the more clarity you have on that, the better. That's a great comment. Anyone have any other comments or questions or challenges they are facing in this yet? Okay, so far so good. Okay, we'll keep rolling. Next is best practices. Now, these are from my School of Hard Knocks so that you don't have the School of Hard Knocks. You don't have to learn the hard way. I'm sharing all the stories I've learned. Is you have to have a plan for onboarding and orientating them. And it's not really that much work, but it's little things that you may not have thought of. So you've got to be able to have your passwords be in a safe way for them to be used. Now, they are background checked to like FBI level. So, I mean, my Zeke is very trustworthy, yet I had certain passwords that I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go in and change a few passwords that he's going to need to use for the things he has. So he has one password, so it's just easier for him anyway. And that way, if anything happened and I didn't like working with Zeke, I could simply go in and change those few passwords. So like he has access to my command. Now I'm going to tell you, they can have their own command login, but until we had that set up, he had command, he had my email. I mean, he had everything. So I had to just go change those few things. And then think about what logins are they going to need access to for the programs, tools, resources, systems that you use. Just get that ready. Because it takes a little time. You know, it's irritating when you have to go change passwords, but you need to get set up for them so that they're going to be able to use this. And then what I do is I created a Google Drive where it's just all things Zeke, and we just store everything in there. So if I had my little secret password sheet or certain things that I wanted to give him, I just dump them in there and we share that way. So I did set up a Google Drive, and he already came with his own email and all that. But if you're really particular and you've really branded yourself well, you can even bring this person in as a team member. And even like, so say it was Tom@tompew.com. You might have Zeke@tompugh.com or assistant@tompugh.com. If you're branding like that and you want your ISA to have that feel, you can get those things set up. So just think about what that might be so you can get that busy work done while you're waiting for your candidate to start. Otherwise, day one's kind of a fire drill. I've done that before too. Command is really awesome though, and I want to show you this. If you go into command, I'll just quick log in. You can set up an assistant that's not in the KW system and is not licensed. Let me just shrink you guys because you're in the way here. Right over under your name in settings. So you go in here, and I just got to look for a second. Team of management. Nope, that's not it. Give me 1 second. It's in one of these. I swear, once I get to know it, then I forget where it is. Anyone else?
What are we looking for?
It's like my life is like, where did it go? Where is it? Okay, now oh wait, manage, nope, recruits, compliance, no, I don't want to go into compliance. I'll get kicked out of compliance. They don't want me going in there. You know what, let me find it because it looks like they moved it, maybe for good reasons with the team setup. But here's the thing, you guys can have 2 non-KW people have their own login. So say you have a gal that does your marketing or a guy that does social media and he needs to be able to go in there and you don't really want to give them your login. You can set them up. It takes about a day to get their username and password. It doesn't cost you anything. Now, if you want, say I'm your assistant and I'm not licensed, I don't do real estate stuff, but I do like your marketing and some other stuff. You can also, if you want, go to the office, go to the MCA and ask to set me up with my own KW email for a professional look. And it only costs you $25 a year. So you get a choice either way. But if I'm not a KW person, I don't have a KW email, that's how you add a person. And I know I didn't show you, but we'll get a little video from Andrew and I know you can. You just kind of moved it around. Right when I got to know it, right? Right when I thought I knew where that thing was. So sorry about that. Okay, back to what we were talking about. And of course, Zeke has access to my calendar, all of that, because he's adding people to my calendar live. In fact, he has access to everyone's calendar on my recruiting team. Now, daily routine is important. Start and end the day together, and if not, you who. So actually, for Damari and I, Damari meets with Zeke every day religiously just to make sure things are going well, and he just ends the day with a text. We don't actually meet at the end of the day, but until you get into a routine with each other, start and end the day with each other. And if ever you're out of routine or their numbers are slipping, go back to that. That'll change everything. It's just like anything that we do, you guys. We're only as good as we are, so keep that in mind. So daily routine, and have your ISA complete a daily tracker form for you so you know everything that they accomplished for you. And they will send it to you every day at the end of their shift, noting what happened, like appointments that they set or things that you need to know. And it'll track all their numbers all the time. It's provided by Maps. I had to create it for my Outdesk. Now, what I like about it is I can see the wins. I'm one of those people that if I see it's working, I'm all in. But if I don't know if it's working, I'm going to wane. And you guys are the same way because I know you are. You're like me. So if you don't see results, you can be like, why am I spending this money, right? Absolutely. That makes all the sense in the world. And yet what I did is I have the routine of looking at it on Monday because I get the email every day, but do I look at it? No, I'm busy. I'm like, one after another. But Mondays is where, like, we call it our huddle. I don't ever miss Monday. So Damari may meet with Zeke every day and I jump on when needed, but Monday we all meet. And I mean, this is 10 or 15 minutes, you guys. It's like, how is it going? Are you running into anything that you need help with? We kind of just debrief, or I'll say, hey, don't put anything else on my calendar, put it all on Damari's, so we just have that real quick conversation. It's by Zoom. At that point, I also share with him what I'm proud of or give him some feedback on an appointment he sets, because it's kind of like we're totally a dynamic trio, Damari, Zeke, and I. And I'll tell him about an appointment and how it went, and he'll get so excited and jazzed up. And he's like, oh, I didn't think that guy was going to show up for the appointment. I'm so glad he did, So just know this is like a thing that they get really into. And the more you communicate, the more excited they get. Your daily huddle, really look at yesterday's results, celebrate the wins, strategize and pivot based on what's going on. So here's the thing. Let's say you have an ISA that calls expireds or calls for sale by owners or circle prospects, and then they nurture Facebook leads. And then you are getting the hottest, newest listing on Friday. You may say, hey, guess what? I want you on Friday to be calling the neighborhood and letting all the neighbors know, or call my, my list of leads here and let them know about this house. You may choose to kind of hijack their day from time to time and give them a project. And that's totally proper to do. This person's working for you, and yet know that if you stay in a routine and only do that from time to time, things go really well. If you constantly are hijacking their day and like throwing them all over the place, that stresses out an ISA because they're very much routine-based people. So just keep that in mind. If your ISA isn't hitting their goals, obviously, if they're with cyberbackers, I just literally shoot a text to their coach and they're on it, and then magically it's better, which I love. If you're working with another kind of company, it's your job to kind of re-engage them. And again, if you're constantly engaging them, at least with good morning or start of your shift kind of chat, you will do so much better. I have Zeke working from 11 until 6 because I know that's when I can get people to answer the telephone. I have a Monday through Friday, but anytime that he's sick or his internet's crummy, he does a makeup day and he'll do on the weekends. And I'm finding I'm getting a lot of results on the weekends. So we may actually move him to be Tuesday through Saturday. And he doesn't care because he's, 12 hours ahead of us. His Saturday is our Saturday is his Sunday. He's like, let me know when you want. And he's happy to work those hours. So think about what your ideal hours would be. But just know that when they start their shift, someone's got to be there or should be there most of the time, like at least 80% of the time. Otherwise, things will fall apart. It's kind of like if you had an assistant and you never went into the office again, but they're working there and you never talk to them. Are things going to fall apart? Of course. And how lonely would that be for them not to have any feedback either? So just kind of don't lose perspective on that, because that's a mistake you'll often make. And all you have to do is just get back to par and say, you know what, we need to stay on track again. Let's get back to our routine. And if you want, you can even have them hold you accountable to that. Oh, and then if your ISA isn't doing something that you wish they were, this happens with marketing a lot. Let's just say you look at someone's Facebook and they have like the most amazing stuff. I'm sure you guys all social stock other realtors that have really good marketing, right? Or am I the only one that ever did that? I'm sure you'll see ideas like, oh, that's good. You can send that over to your ISA and say, hey, I wish you could magically do this too. And the neat thing is they have such a pool of talent that they'll go find ISAs that know how to do what your ISA doesn't, and they'll kind of get into cahoots. So just know I love that about that company, because they're all about making us continue to grow, and they're really into making sure that happens. So June, you ask a great question. Do you have to hire them full-time as a W-2 salary? What's the general rate? Great question. So this is the best part. They're a vendor, so you can write this off 100%. This is not like you have to do payroll or anything. They are not 1099, not W-2. You pay a company and they pay them. So it's an expense, which is really cool. And depending on how many hours you want, you could do what Judy and Linda did. And Judy, you guys are, what is it, $2,000 a month? I think it is. For 40 hours.
No, we pay $750 each.
Okay.
So it's $1,500. However, if they hit their goal, with their appointment goal, they get a bonus. So,
okay, so it's about $2,000 a month for 40 hours
mm-hmm.
would be something that I would budget. Because you want them to hit the goal, right? Absolutely. So Judy, I'm sorry, you just went on mute again, but can I ask you, what is the goal that you guys set? Just so you can share perspective.
20 appointments a month, which would be 10 each.
Fantastic.
So for a $500 bonus to get 10 appointments, yeah, I'd do it.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, and so for me, I have Zeke cold calling, and he pretty much sets an appointment or two every day. And some days, like he set 4 yesterday. So he's like, did you notice? He sent me a text. Did you notice? And he just put a question mark. I'm like, notice what? He's like, your calendar. I'm like, ooh, way to go, buddy. So, so we like Zeke's a friend at this point, you guys. Zeke, Damari, and I are a pack. So it's not like some person just working for you. They're family. They become family. And the more you work with them, the more you get like that. So, but that's about the going rate. So 40 hours, $2,000, 20 appointments would be kind of the standard you should have. And each company will give you more info on that. Always have a project list on the side for idle time. And this is why. There'll be times where you're just not that available for a couple of days in a row, or you went on vacation, or an out of town buyer just scooped you up and your life is in a whirlwind and you can't give them directives. They should always have something to do. So I always have like 3 or 4 projects that Zeke can always do. And even if his internet goes out or whatever, because sometimes, in the Philippines, they have pretty bad storms over there. They get like 3 times the number of big storms that we do. There'll be a day or two where he'll be like, can't even get on. What else can I do for you? And he'll put notes. Like I have, if you guys want to feel better about anything, these are how many conversations I've had during COVID. I don't have all these notes in my computer. Should I? Yes. So what I do is I'll scan like in 10s and I'll just dump them in the drive so Zeke can get them and download them at any point and put my notes in if he's struggling to be able to get on. So he's always got a project, and you all have projects you probably want done. But give them something to do so that forever, whatever reason, if they're stuck waiting from direction from you is typically what happens, and they can't go any further on something, they can at least work on other things. Now your ISA, go ahead.
Good question. Would they be able to update the database as their,
Yes.
as a project?
That's one of the first projects I recommend. So you're already like way ahead of me, Juan. I love it. Yeah, and I've got an example of that coming in just a few seconds. Okay, a couple last things to mention. Remember, your ISA can be positioned to be a member of your team. So we had Czar in Madison. I think a couple people are in Madison. Czar was my ISA for a long time. I think you still maybe have him. We had a flat Czar in the office, even like a blow up picture of him, because he was that much of a part of our team. You can put him in your marketing as part of your team. That is a leverage piece. It's just like having an assistant. And if you market them as part of your experience and your team and your services, people aren't offended if they do get a call from Zeke, So, to what you were saying, Juan, yeah, if you market them properly, they're seen as just another element of you. So I think that's smart to do. You may want to prove them out first, so you're confident, and yet that's a smart thing to do. And then obviously, I'm going to highlight this, follow all the do not call and robo texting and laws. Obviously, they're taught that as well. Now, here are some project ideas, and this is what Juan was just talking about. Your Met database is golden. It really is. And most of you aren't doing what you need to do with it. And I've talked to you about this before. We've had these conversations. Have anyone? Tom, Dana, I see you raising your hand. No, we're all guilty of this. And yet, what if you sent a video message out introducing Zeke, we'll just use my ISA, introducing Zeke as a member of your team and your concierge program, and tell them the other good news that you're also sharing with them the new Zestimate that's out there. It's Real Estate 2.0, and you're curious what they think. So you're starting them out with their own neighborhood, and that they're able to add any other neighborhood in America they may want to track or are curious about, or that they used to live in. And then tell them that Zeke from your team will be calling to follow up. So now they're expecting Zeke's call, and your ISA Zeke will call and check in, make sure they got everything, see if they used and downloaded your app, and then they'll update command when they are on the phone with them. So say you're forgetting some of the emails, or you don't have their address or whatever, they can fill in the gaps for you while they're on, put them on a neighborhood nurture and even ask, is there any other neighborhood that you want? And then also send your mobile app smart plan. You could kill 3 birds with 1 stone with that one call. And it's a care call. So the other thing you could say is, and Z could say something like, and while I have you, Jessica was curious if you were planning on doing anything with your home in the next year, you know, refinancing or remodeling or anything, because she'd love to give you some ideas around that. And just ask that question for you. Can you imagine how awesome that would be for your world if you could do all those things in a phone call and have that done for you? Now, meanwhile, you know, your ISA is doing all that. They can also put notes together for you so that if they really needed to hear from you or they were saying stuff that they didn't really understand, they can just take notes basically and then hand it over to you for direction. So don't worry, they're very good at handling those kinds of circumstances. They're trained to do that. And they're used to doing that. But just think of how powerful that could be for your connectivity with your database. Now, if you had an event going on, they could also call in and invite them personally to the event. You know, you might do a, you know, save the date and all these other things that you do electronically, but there's nothing better than a real person calling to say, hey, Judy was hoping you could make the fundraiser and it's going to be a fun fundraiser, you know, and have some fun around it. They do have personality and the ability to do the call just as well as you do. And they have the energy and interest of doing it all day long. So that's really where they kind of outpace you. Second project idea for first project would be just to start having them circle prospect around any win that you had in real estate. You know, a new listing, sale, or an open house, or if you have an event, or if you have a customer appreciation event. It's kind of early for that with COVID, so be careful, because you definitely need to make sure you're not offending anybody or pushing on any protocol. And I think with numbers going up, I'd probably pause a little on that. Or at least change your event. But circle prospecting is really where you're going to get that curious neighbor, like, where in the world did they come up with that price? Well, that's a clue. That means, oh, well, Judy would love to call you and tell you the comps we used. And, you know, then you get the call and the appointment. So just know they're ready to do all that for you. And then last but not least is leads. You know, in here is gold. I know it. It's people that I probably should have called again or followed up again or whatever. So I started going through this last night and putting it in, and I'm like, oh, I should call this person. Actually, it's so funny, just to be totally transparent, just going through like half of a file folder. I'm like, I need to call all these people. Leads, right? It kind of reminds you of what you have, or maybe a really cold lead that might be warm now. They can also nurture the Facebook leads. So they could follow the Tyler Shields plan for you, because, you know, if you're not doing it, you're just wasting money and you're not doing anything with those leads. And typically when we see an ISA get involved with that type of caliber of lead, we can see like the Nick Baldwins and the Jessica Stars and the Tyler Shields, they're getting over 10% conversion already. It took them time to get there. They went from 3% to 4% to 6% to 8%. Now they're 10 plus because they're top of funnel leads, and they had to get enough leads in and have the leads nurture long enough. But most of you are quitting after about a month, you know, or a couple months. You're like, oh, nothing's popping. Well, it takes a couple months for that all to marinate, and then things start rolling. And the truth be told is this is really the future of lead generation. A lot of this is going to be tied to what we're doing right now with our command, because it has the algorithms built in and the things that you don't have the advantage of. So you have an unfair advantage of using that algorithm, but not if you're not following up the leads. So those are the things I'd put at you to think about. Let's talk about this. Let's open up the mics. Let's hear from you. Like, what questions do you have? What reluctances do you have? Tell me about this. Now, I'll say one thing, because I see a couple teams on here. If you have provided services in the past, this is the future. This really is. And Gary's been talking about this for about 6 months now. For you to still have the value proposition of a team and a stickiness of a team, leads do come into play. And this is where you can scale leads. You can scale leads with the Facebook command and with an ISA. And it's one thing to nurture a whole bunch of leads in a pile. It's another to get warm leads handed to you from an ISA, or warm conversations, or actual appointments. And if you're handing off appointments, of course, you're going to keep even a larger chunk of the commission. So before you dive into this and start offering this to your team, come back and talk to me about how you're compensating, so that we can kind of set you straight on that, so that this is a profit center for you too, and you're not losing money on this. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Happy to talk offline with any of you. So what challenges do you guys see? What limiting beliefs do you have? What fears do you have? What questions do you have? Do you have to have something? Let me hear from you.
Right now, for me, mine is simple. Mine is cash flow, and I'm looking to split the cost with somebody for the time being and get started, because I am way behind. I'll just simply say that.
Well, and the thing is Juan, you don't need to be good at what you're way behind on ever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's where I would tell you, that's when you know you need it. It's when you're dreading following up with leads and stuff that you have. It's kind of like it's a mirror, and you're looking in a mirror, isn't it? And yet it's because that's not like what you really get energy from. So, for some of you, I'll just tell you, I mean, I am such a more successful person with a really talented ISA on my side, because that's not my talent zone. And I dreaded it. I would have anxiety around it. And yet I didn't need that to be successful, but to be as successful as I am, I did. It was kind of like ignoring a whole lead generation column. Fair? But I don't want to be good at Facebook ad follow-up, to be honest with you either. I want to be in front of people. So, so just know if you're there, that's another good reason. Now, there's plenty of you on here that may want to split someone, so that you have half the cost, half the time, because I don't think any of you need 40 hours a week, frankly. I mean, I don't really think you do. 20 would be great. 20 would be 20 more hours a day or week, right? June?
Yeah, Juan, I'd be interested in having a conversation about it. And I'm even wondering, just to Juan's point about, the cash flow, I mean, does it have to be full time? Do we have to split 20 hours, or 40 hours, or could we split 20 hours? Are there some part-time?
So my outdesk is going to be a little more flexible on that. But my fear is, I think both of you need a cyberbacker, because you don't need to be managing people, because you both are already super busy and under leveraged in that sense. So I just want to warn you, and yet I don't know. So it's worth a call and an ask, or maybe there's a third, maybe someone else on here is a third. Jude?
So we looked into that as well. And the basic feedback we got is, if you think about the candidates that are applying for the job, I mean, you will pay more for part-time. I mean, it's not a lot more, but they do charge a higher price for a part-time, but you'll have a much, we were told, a smaller pool of candidates, because most of the candidates, the really skilled and talented people, want to work full-time.
Right.
Judy,
Well, but it's an option. It might be an option. And an ISA is a high skill set. I'm just going to tell you that.
Judy, did you go through a cyberbacker like Jess is saying?
Absolutely. Yes. Cyberbacker.
Okay.
Yeah. And we did have to wait longer. Like I said earlier, when we increased our hiring criteria, the pool of candidates dropped based on what we wanted, because they offer a lot of good candidates for more of virtual assistant type of a position. But when you get into ISA, I mean, that's what we experienced anyway. But again, we're really new in this, but I feel, I shouldn't say but, and I feel that our cyberbacker is going to be very successful. I feel if he isn't, it's my fault.
So Greg Schreiber in our office and Scott Pickering as well on the ALC are also doing this. So there's a couple other people in the office too that we can, you can bounce off of. And if you're not ready to go all in, I totally get it, guys. But why don't you talk to some of those folks that are a couple steps ahead of you? They're like 2 weeks in or 3 weeks in with their cyberbacker. I know they set quite a few appointments already. And I think, if you see those kind of successes, it'll kind of push you over. I know Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes could use one. So a couple of different people are looking. We almost need like a job board, like who needs another half of an ISA, right? Because you just need to make sure your job descriptions also match. Like you're not trying to get them to do 2 different things at different times, because that just is cruel, you know, because if they're really good at this thing and then half the day they do this, that's not what they're going to want to do. So just keep that in mind. But, you know, if there's any way I can match people up that are looking to split someone or even go by thirds, you know, we should almost get a way of communicating that up in the office.
Okay, awesome.
I think this is the future. I really do. When you listen to Gary Keller about teams, you know, the days of buying Zillow zip codes is going by the wayside. So now what, you know, and realtor.com partnered with OpCity, which partnered with Open Door. So there's all kinds of like mergers going on to position them to be the full competitor that they're gunning to be. So they're not going to be giving or selling those leads, they're not giving them away. Let's just be honest. But lead sources in the past that a lot of these teams were relying on are disappearing. But what we've discovered is that the leads that we're able to generate through the algorithm have a much greater ROI anyway. However, it's going to take 4 months to get where someone would have been with Zillow spending $1,000 a month. So the point is you're going to need a little lead time to get that result that you want. If you're already saying, hey team, I'm going to create 10 leads a month for you guys, you know, and that's the pressure a lot of teams are under. If you're a team that hasn't provided leads, that's unique because most teams are providing some sort of lead source, and yet those sources are kind of disappearing, and this is becoming kind of the new thing. So I see this becoming a huge thing. I'm thinking that when we go to family reunion, there's going to be panel after panel after panel crushing it on this. And yet, what else aren't you doing in your business that would just rock your business, like circle prospecting, or, you know, calling these FISBOs that you drive by and that you don't want to knock on their door and call? You know, just remember, this is that person's gift zone and they have the staying power to do it. Has anyone?
And that's something that.
Yes, Mary?
This is Mary. I'm sorry, I'm driving, but I pay for Facebook leads, and my downfall is that I guess I freeze up, not really knowing what to say to the people when I call, even, you know, if it's about a listing or, you know, it's just, being on the phone is not something that I enjoy. So as far as like cold calling people, I would rather go knock on someone's door and meet them face to face. So that's, I mean, this is something that I've been looking into doing. My husband actually owns a call center, and people say to me, use him, hire one of his people to just help you.
Right.
So I think that this is huge. I'm definitely interested in doing something like this because I'm paying for these Facebook leads, and I will admit sometimes they're not going anywhere because I freeze up, not really knowing what to say.
Yeah. And just so you guys know, by using an ISA and actually responding to the leads as they come in during the day, while you guys are out driving around and doing this thing and running to this appointment, taking this call, you've got that ISA doing all of that. They grab the lead, they respond to it, they put them on a smart plan, they talk to them. Usual conversion ratio is 25% to conversation. So if you have 100 leads come in, you got 25 real estate conversations going on. That's fantastic. You know, think about that. And it's so scalable. Think of how many open houses you would need to do to get 100 people that want to talk about real estate with you. And you can do that with $200.
Do you give them scripts?
They have them already. They already know what to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't even have to give them a script. They're already trained. They know Tyler's deal. They know the whole caboodle. You can practice with them in the morning if you'd like. But that's really it. It's nothing.
Oh my gosh, that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. And I got to tell you guys, you know, I've always done well at team leader role. When I got an ISA, I went through the roof. So I just know how much better you're going to feel too, having a predictable business when you've got appointments that you can bank on that aren't just the ones you're bumping into or creating on your own. And that's the key. And you know what? Do what you love. So Mary, the only challenge I give you is if you're going to do this, great, but then go spend more time knocking on those doors, right? That's really it.
Okay.
Any other questions or anything? I mean, I'm here. I really want to be a resource to you guys. I think we can get a tribe going between all 3 offices of people that are doing this. So we can kind of share best practices, and, you know, if you're sharing with someone and they don't, you know, it's not working out, or they want full time and you need to share with someone else. I want to kind of get a group going so that you always have what you need. So, you know, lean on me. I'm passionate about this. I want all of you to have this win. And if you're not having the result, you know, don't be afraid to reach out to me, because I'd love to figure out what maybe you need to do or tweak. And again, if you're using cyberbackers, it's just going to be a lot easier because you're going to go to them, not me, and they're phenomenal. So I've had probably, I would say 7 different ISA companies, and the only 2 I'll bring up are my Outdesk and Cyberbacker. The rest were not good experiences. So if they're offering people for $3 an hour, do not do that. Cyberbackers actually get insurance, they get benefits, like other benefits, they get time, you know, vacation time, they get trained, they have retreats. I mean, they're treated really well and love their jobs. And it really shows up in the talent that you get. So just remember, that's a big deal. And what an affordable opportunity for you guys. So I hope you guys got something good. I'm going to end with 1 or 2 ahas. What's something that you guys are taking action on, or that you learned, or that just blew your mind today? What's something that you're willing to share? We'll end it on a high note.
I like the fact that you can split it with somebody else. That's going to accelerate my steps.
Because, you know, even one, if you had to start with splitting, you could always, you know, make an agreement that, you know, if you give enough notice that you want to take the whole contract on, and, you know, as your business evolves, or you may always want that ISA, but then you may want a more of a marketing person, and you just have 2 halves.
Correct.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm passionate about you guys having a win on this. So reach out, don't be shy. If you're doing this, you have questions, you know how to find me. Happy to help. Let's get leveraged. Have a good one.
Good.
Bye, guys.
Bye.